What internet marketing expert should you spend your valuable time listening to? Listen to someone who has over 20 years of web marketing experience and hundreds of website marketing success stories. That man is Aaron Sparks from Site Strategics. And this is Edge of the Web Radio.
We're continuing our conversation with Tom Webster, Vice President of Strategy and for Edison Research. That's a custom market research company, best known as the sole providers of exit polling data during the U.S. elections for all the major news networks. Tom, thank you so much for continuing this segment here.
Oh, thanks. I hope I'm not wrecking the show.
We do a good job of that.
That's a really optimistic outlook. Tom, one of the questions that I had for you is, we work with a lot of firms that have totally adopted social media. It's part of their everyday business. They understand and see the results because it's been in place long enough. But there's some companies out there that are still fearful of, either the repercussions or the resources that it takes. From the research that you're seeing, are these companies, is it too late? Are they behind the curve? Did they miss the train? Or is there still just an incredible opportunity for any company, to adopt strategies on Twitter and Facebook and
Please say no. Please say no. Please say no.
There's loads of opportunity. It's
go.
still early days from the geologic timescale of things that I like to look at. It's still really early days.
Absolutely.
The thing about social media, first of all, you can look at statistics about how many people are using things like Twitter and Facebook. Those things really underestimate the impact of social media. There's a stat that we put out earlier this year. Towards the beginning of the year, I think we showed that 15% of Americans 12 plus had a profile on Twitter, and I'm sure that number is closer to 20 because Twitter's been on fire this year. Mm-hmm. But at the time of that data, it was 15. But the percentage of all Americans 12 plus who say that they have seen a tweet or heard of a tweet mentioned in some other form of media, whether that's television or radio or somebody else's website, is 88%. And more than 1 in 4 say that they hear a tweet every day. And these are people that are not on Twitter. They just, it's such an amplification of our culture that when a celebrity tweets something or a business makes news on Twitter, it leaves much, much deeper footprints. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is it's such early days that actually it's still easy for companies comparatively, I think, to make a difference. We are still, for those people out there who've done Yellow Pages advertising, there was this great insight ages ago that a limousine company had that said, if we change our name to A1 Limousine, we'll be the first limousine company in the Yellow Pages. And so they got a lot of business that way. And then, then along came A1 Limousine, and then A1 Limousine, and we are still in the A1 limousine days of social media, and the more time passes and the more companies get, mature and sophisticated about how they work in social, the less that kind of arbitrage is possible. So, now's the time to jump in.
And I feel like we're finally reaching an age too, where you had mentioned, the tools that you have and the data that you have at your disposal is helping you to accurately answer questions now. I really feel like those tools are also becoming affordable to the small business and medium business market as well.
Yeah, absolutely affordable and usable. And, we live in an era now where, people are more willing to talk about brands and products and talk about those things online. Now, it's up to companies to determine if what they're hearing in social is actually something they can use or work with or is representative. But still, people are talking about brands and products online, and you're not using all of the resources at your disposal if you ignore those conversations. And we certainly don't ignore them for our clients. We put them into perspective.
Absolutely. I get a question in regards to the social media networkers, people that actually have the accounts, and their now new perceived or growing perception of their involvement with company brands. Can you speak a little bit more to what social media communities now are starting to understand of how they can affect brand?
Well, one thing that has happened clearly just in the last year, one thing that we've tracked for a number of years are the percentage of people who are following a brand online, either like them on Facebook or following one on Twitter. And that number has increased dramatically. But also the number that's increased dramatically is the perception of people that they are being advertised to.
Right.
So, when you think about Facebook, Facebook keeps monkeying with its algorithms to present the order of events and things on your timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to, if there are companies and brands sending me messages and they are getting through over messages from my wife or my friends, that's kind of a problem. That's, I'm not going to want to spend much time on Facebook.
Or you might want to spend more.
I love my wife. I don't. I absolutely don't. I don't want brand messages superseding or
good, Tom. You better call your wife right now.
People are far more aware of than they ever used to be.
You're talking to an old fat divorce guy, Tom. So
I'd suggest you call your wife right now, Tom. But your phone's not actually going through the update yet, is it?
I'm on the wrong show.
That's a good perspective. What would you see the biggest fallacies are for when companies perform their own research into social media and subsequently their content creation and their messaging?
Wow. Research is it's not a tricky thing, but there is sort of a process to it, and I think the easiest source of research is not necessarily the best source of research, but it's, again, one that should not be ignored, and that is simply, sending out an email to your customer database and getting people to respond to you and, taking a survey in that way. You're obviously not getting a representative sample of your customers. You're also actually not even necessarily getting a representative sample of your email database. You're getting the X percentage, and it's probably less than 5, who feel like they want to interact with you on email and felt compelled to do so, and they may have access to Grind, they may absolutely love you, you don't know. So, the one thing I would suggest is there's incredible value in having customer feedback in place, but you need to give people incentives to do those things. Mm-hmm. You need to actually add value to people's lives in exchange for getting customer feedback from them. You need to value it as much as it should be valued. It is absolutely the lifeblood of your business. And if you expect to get people to talk to you about your brand or give you helpful suggestions, tell you how they feel, you kind of have to make it worth their while. And that's one thing I see companies not doing enough of.
Yeah, I think with any data collection, it's one of those things that people don't mind giving you as much data as you want, as long as they realize that you're using it responsibly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, we certainly wanted to offer up an opportunity to speak to some of your upcoming reports or information that you're going to be developing here. So you want, Tom, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, since we are on an internet radio program,
rock and roll,
I would like to highlight a large internet radio study that we've got coming out next week. I think there's a landing page for it at edisonresearch.com/audio task force. That war imagery never quite sits well with me, but the audio task force is a consortium of names you probably know: Pandora, Spotify, TuneIn, and we have basically put together a really large, groundbreaking, definitive study of how Americans use internet radio. And for the first time, the majority of online Americans are internet radio consumers. And
wow!
I know that sounds like a duh for people that have been like yourselves who've been doing this for a while, but the fact that it's now a majority activity for online Americans is kind of a big deal. So we're going to be putting out a lot of research on that next week, and we're all excited about it.
Well, the interesting thing there is that automobiles are just adopting it too. So that opens a huge door.
Absolutely.
Well, you have a not insignificant percentage of Americans already sort of putting together these Rube Goldberg contraptions of iPhones and patch cords and cassette adapters, trying to hear it in their car anyway.
That's me.
Yeah.
And that just
I love the reference too.
Enough demand for it.
Well, you certainly want to go check out the URL that Tom gave us. And good Tom, do you want to give us any more information about how we can get a hold of you or where we can find your activities? You have a blog that's really, really good. Tell us about that blog for a brief second.
Yeah, it's BrandSavant.com, and it's a take on research, but also more a take on marketing in general, and topics that interest me that I think either have I have a contrarian view on or are just not thought about properly. I think I try to raise interesting things. I publish to it sporadically. I can't write to it every day, but it's my home on the web for my thoughts.
Fantastic. Anywhere else we should be looking for your efforts, because we certainly are interested.
Twitter, Webby 2001. Right. You have to follow, Tom.
You have to.
That was cool. That was cool 20 years ago when that was my AOL address. Webby 2001 on the Twitters, and that is, and BrandSavant.com are where I spend most of my time on the socials.
Excellent. So certainly pay attention to Edison Research. They are a premier research agency that provides incredible insight into music and music, the music medium and the different talent environments there, as well as elections and consumer polling data. They are all over it, and they do it very wisely, and they have some incredible data that backs up everything that they do. So thank you so much, Tom. It's been a joy having you on the show. I do appreciate that. And you know what? We may very well call upon you to replace the Tom here at Site Strategics.
Yeah, I'm sorry that other one didn't work out for you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, and truly appreciate the time, sir.
You're listening to Edge of the Web Radio with Aaron Sparks. We're online with exclusive podcasts, the latest web news, and links at edgeofthewebradio.com.